I'm Bob Brill. He's Erik Kramer. Hey, welcome to Kramer and Brill, Fantasy Football Podcast, now video cast too. You can hear the podcast wherever you get your shows, and you see the video cast on YouTube by going to my Bob Brill YouTube channel. Or you can find the links to all of this by going to our website, which is kramerandbrill.com. That is definitely the easiest way. Everything's there. You can find out some more about us and what we're doing and everything. Well, it's week 11, and the bye week is the Broncos and the Rams. Only two teams on bye. The Rams certainly needed after that big loss on Monday night to the 49ers. The winners this week, Patrick Mahomes, back again, 5 touchdown passes, 406 yards, didn't throw a pick, 36 fantasy points. Dak Prescott, Mac Jones, who threw 3 touchdown passes in a win, and we didn't think that was going to happen. They just kind of came out and dominated.
Here's what I saw out of Patrick Mahomes. For the first time in, maybe since last year, his feet and eyes, and you've heard me talk about this before with quarterbacks, his feet and eyes started moving in rhythm, which oftentimes led him from high down to middle, down to low, check down on time in rhythm. Darrell Williams goes 10 yards with it, first down, move the chains. That's what he had to do, which he's gotten away from, and now he's doing it, and voila. Now he's back to being, this magical Patrick Mahomes. No, he's not. He's taking the simple throws, making the simple reads, and that's why they were successful. And I think now you got Darrell Williams, who showed up and went over 100 yards catching. You got the tight end Kelsey, who's catching screen passes and underneath routes and mid-range. And then you've got down the field Tyreek Hill. It's exactly what you'd want out of the Chiefs moving forward from here.
I still think you should be coaching the quarterbacks for the Chiefs. But
well, the guy who is actually trained with me coming out of college, went to UConn, and Mike Kafka, and he's actually played for Andy Reid with the Eagles there for about 5 years, and sounds like he's on his way to becoming a head coach right along with Eric Bieniemy at some point.
Well, the running backs, as you mentioned, Darrell Williams had 101 receiving. Stevenson in New England came from out of nowhere, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dillon, McCaffrey, D'Ernest Johnson, who we liked, and he had 99 yards. Jonathan Taylor led all running backs rushing with 116 yards.
The guy that stands out that you just mentioned, Stevenson, the running back with New England, never even heard of him before. But the way that guy runs with such attitude and authority, he's the one I'd bank on going forward.
It's a Belichick thing. You never know who's going to be there.
That's right. Yeah, it could be the janitor next week.
I know. Wide receivers, Diggs at 8 for 162 and a score. Justin Jefferson, 9 for 143. Tight end Kelsey, 8 for 119. Cooper Kupp had 10 for 122 on Monday night. Big time for all those receivers this time out.
Yeah, and I like the guy Jordan from the Raiders, because now that Ruggs is gone, they don't really have the downfield threat that he brought them. And so Brian Jordan from game 1 this year has been showing up like he did just the other night and comes up with big plays. So to me, he, along with Waller and moving forward with Jacobs at running back, I think those are the guys that the Raiders are going to have to continue to move towards. And the guy I'll mention this week, Jacoby Myers, as we know, went to NC State. And now it's third year, he scored his very first touchdown. Even his dad's been giving him a hard time. And so now he's gotten over that hump, which is good.
When it comes to the losers, here's something I never, ever in my life thought I would say. Matt Ryan, less than 1 fantasy point. Less than 1 fantasy point. And
which
fortunately for me, the team I was playing started Matt Ryan. That's the reason I won.
Congratulations to you then.
Yeah, it was great. He had 2. He threw for 117 yards. He had 2 sacks and 2 picks. Well, the 117 yards equals about 8 points, maybe 7, and the 2 sacks and the 2 picks is -8. So there you go. He had 0 points. And Mike White threw for 4 picks, had 2 fantasy points. Another one that we didn't expect, although we didn't expect him to do well. DK Metcalf, 3 catches, 26 yards, and he was tossed from the game at the end for grabbing an opponent's face mask 3 times. I said last week the Steelers looked like the old Steelers and were playing down to the competition. I was pretty right. This beard is the Steelers streak beard. As long as they're winning, I'm going to grow the beard. If they lose, I'll shave it off. So,
and it is Movember.
Yes, I know.
Don't forget that. Right.
That's right. Exactly. The Steelers took a winless Lions to overtime, and they finished in a tie. Now, Ben hit the COVID trail on Saturday. So Mason Rudolph's got the call. And, statistically, and he played okay. Yeah, but the interceptions and the fumbles killed him. So,
and
I'll let you talk about that.
Okay. Well, I just remember going. I didn't see the game, but I remember clicking on ESPN afterward, and the way they set this up was the highlight show saying there's going to be no highlights. In fact, everything you see is going to be a low light, and there was like 2 minutes worth. It was ridiculous. And so you're right. I think the Steelers played down, and they've got to somehow right that ship again this week. Now they come out and play the Chargers. So we'll see how they go.
And it's really weird because, the way the season's going, I sort of, no matter who plays quarterback, I sort of expect them to beat the Chargers because just the way this weird season is, whatever you think is going to happen doesn't,
Right.
So
especially lately.
I feel good about it. And with the Steelers, with the tie, if they'd won the game, they'd be tied for first place in their division, which is this year the awful division, AFC North. And but everybody's fighting for that playoff, that first place spot. But with the tie, they're only a half game back, so it's kind of weird. We like Dearness Johnson; he had 99 yards. We like Gibson, 2 touchdowns to Washington. We like the Cowboys. Cam Newton, who had 2 touchdowns. Cousins and Jalen Hurts, all were solid this week.
If there's one player in the NFL that I have a hard time with and always have, it's Cam Newton. And here he comes back, plays 9 snaps, and it's the I'm back. Well, let me just say this to all you 20-somethings out there or people that, you're deep into your Xbox and this whole me thing about Cam Newton and pulling back the Superman cape and all that crap, that might be contributing to why he was out for as long as he was out. And he really hasn't done anything just yet, to be honest. And so we'll see if I'm back really is this week when he gets to actually start. And now this is a team game, by the way. It's not tennis. And so we'll see how back he is.
His whole presence at this point sets up this weird scenario. He stunk, be honest with you, he stunk it up in New England. He ran for some touchdowns, and that's all he really did. His passer rating was like on the bottom. So he goes to the new team. He goes back to his old team where Sam Darnold is kind of stuck in the situation the team's stuck because the team is on the hook for Sam Darnold for $18.5 million. And you come out of that next year. I mean, the cap space, where does it go? And if Cam proves that he can play a year there, where does that go? If he can't, what do they do? I mean, this is the weirdest and probably worst scenario that a team owner has to face outside of a team being decimated by injuries. So
you're right. There's only one team to sign him.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the game starting Thursday with the Patriots and the Falcons. I'm definitely liking Mac Jones here. And while I'm not sold on the flavor of the week at running back, if Harris is available, I'd go for it. But it's really hard to pass with the guy you mentioned a few minutes ago, and that's Stevenson. It's really difficult. But it's, like we said, it's Belichick running backs, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
And I know that you're married to all Steeler players currently and even former ones, which is no problem here. But for me, regarding, the Stevenson, still, to me, whether it's on the reality team or the fantasy team, he's the guy. And then I think for the Falcons, I'd still go with Cordero Patterson, who is really stepped up his game this year. He's been given a lot of responsibility, has come through. And then I think I'd look for Matt Ryan to bounce back. I know he played terrible last week, but he's not a terrible quarterback. He's been on a roll, and I think this is probably a good week for him to make that comeback.
Well, let's put it this way. He doesn't have very far to go to bounce back from 0.
Well, true enough. And they're playing the down 28-3 against the Patriots again. So
on Sunday's game, Saints and Eagles, I'm not sold on Trevor Siemian, although he didn't look bad. And Ingram is at least a flex if Kamara remains sidelined.
And I am sold, though, on Jalen Hurts and his developing, I'd say, discernment of whether to run the ball or not, and especially his accuracy as a passer. Over his short NFL career, which is a year and a half, he's shown me some rare emotional maturity. So, like when the game gets on the line, like it did a couple of weeks ago, and he comes up with the game-winning or game-tying touchdown pass, they lose in overtime, but he's still, to me, shown that he's a worthy start. And then I like underestimated guys like his tight end, Dallas Goddard. And with Ertz gone now, Goddard's getting all the tight end receptions.
Dolphins and Jets, quarterback up in the air, so it's hard to settle on any of the wideouts who did so well this week. Wilson, Ford, Waddle each had 4 catches, but Waddle's the guy here for me. And Myles Gaskin runs hard, so flex is possible on this one.
And also, we don't know the QB situation here with the Jets. And even if I did, I don't know if I'd play either White or Flacco. I do like the Jets running back, though, Michael Carter, for his not only running ability, but receiving as well. He was held to 82 yards combined scrimmage-wise, but he did rush for 1 touchdown. And then Corey Davis also had a strong game as a receiver. So I don't think whoever's quarterback is going to make a difference. Corey Davis is still going to contribute.
Washington and Carolina, I don't expect Washington to play well after beating Tampa, but I still like Gibson and McLaurin pretty much every week.
And for the Panthers, as I mentioned, Cam, who I think's getting his first start now, I think he's got to change to be better than expected. But one thing working in his favor is the fact that Chase Young won't be there and is gone for the season now with that knee injury. But I think the guy that I would bank on if I'm a Panthers, if I have any Panthers player, I'm hoping it's Christian McCaffrey, because that's the guy both running and passing that obviously stepped up his game now that he's back. This is his 3rd start since being injured. I think he's perfectly positioned right now to contribute.
I don't think there's a better player in the NFL when he's healthy. I mean, he's just.
I think you're right.
He's just the guy who can do just about everything and does it well. Colts at Bills, I'll pass on Wentz this week, but Pittman and Taylor, they're solid. Jack Doyle's been pretty pedestrian, but he's the guy to take a chance on this week, especially if you need a tight end because of a bye week situation. Jack Doyle's out there, and I think he'd be a 1 week pickup.
And I think the Bills answered any questions about a possible collapse permanently regarding that Jacksonville loss 9-6 with an exclamation point of a game against the Jets this past week. So all running backs scored except Allen, of course, who's been their leading receiver or rusher a lot of times. Diggs got back on track. Gabriel Davis caught everything thrown his way. Allen himself was extraordinary as a passer. So I'd play any Bills player if I had him.
Lions at Browns. Okay. How on earth does TJ Hawkinson have 1 target and no catches? 1 target, no catches against Pittsburgh. Jared Goff is awful. So as long as he's under center, don't play any Lions receivers, but do play running back DeAndre Swift, coming off a 130-yard day against the Steelers, no touchdown. So you got to believe this guy.
Playing a Browns player, it's kind of like going to Vegas and playing black or red on the roulette wheel. One game, they hit everything. The next game, they can't beat a high school team. So whether Baker Mayfield, who's questionable with a knee injury, gets the start, or it's Case Keenum, it doesn't really matter. Pay attention to the running back situation. Dearness Johnson or any running back for them, if whoever is the main guy, bank on him. And so they are a running team, despite what everybody thinks about the NFL being a passing league. The teams that win consistently are still run first, set up play action, push the ball down the field when you can. And so I think if I am a Browns owner, I don't play a receiver. I don't play the quarterback. I do play the running back.
Niners, Jags, James Robinson, the only Jaguar I'd start, but I might pick up Dan Arnold if I was hurting a tight end. Again, another guy that if you're in a bye situation, you need a tight end, he is out there and he is worth a shot.
So I think if you watched the 49ers beat up on the Rams last night, you'll agree with me here. Samuel and Kittle together go together like peanut butter and jelly. Samuel's like 220. He's fast. He's their go-to guy down the field. They put him at running back. He gains yards there. He scores touchdowns. Whatever that last play where on 4th down, he catches the ball and goes for a touchdown, splits the defense, look eerily similar to a few weeks ago when on 3rd and 19, they throw a little receiver screen his way and he goes 83 yards with it. And ultimately the Bears are the losers in that game. I just think that Eli Mitchell, or however he goes, the running back, he's special too. And, those 3 people on the 49ers, that's where I'd go.
Yeah, Mitchell didn't hit his 100 yards. They came awful close. He got 91. That would have been, I think, the 5th straight week or 4th straight week that he had it. And watching Deebo Samuel was sort of like watching Tyreek Hill from multiple positions yesterday. I mean, he played every offensive position except offensive line and quarterback. So talking about Texans and Titans. What a boring game, huh? Marcus Johnson, Swaim, and the defense is where I take the Titans. Titans going for number 7 in a row.
All right. Who was Marcus Johnson 48 hours ago? Nobody. And then he explodes on the scene. So I still think the main receiver there with the Titans is A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
But I will say this, if just like the Bills against Jacksonville, the Titans could stumble this week against the Texans. And as far as the Texans go, I'll say this, completely out on any Texans player. I don't care who the running back is, quarterback, receivers. There's nobody there I'd start.
Packers and Vikes. Well, there isn't a starting Minnesota player I don't like. They're all solid. It's a divisional rivalry game. Jefferson really turned it on this week with 9 for 143, but he was kept out of the end zone. And you got to like Cousins and Cook. I mean, it's just a team that is just solid.
And being at the game against with the Chargers playing the Vikings this past weekend, Cousins on several occasions made a couple throws where he stood against the blitz. They had one where Jalen Ramsey came in scot-free, and or not Ramsey. Trying to think who's the strong safety there for the Chargers, came in free, and he just stood in there calmly, hit Thielen over the middle, first down, and away they go. Like he's that kind of quarterback that people don't really think of as that guy, but he is that guy. So anyway, moving on to the Packers, I'll just say that I have my issues with the way Rodgers has handled this whole COVID unvaccinated situation of his. But I think if he's in the game and he's playing, the Packers, to me, all the receivers, running backs. Although I will say this about Aaron Jones, he hasn't really done anything this year. Corey Dillon, on the other hand, is the guy I'd go with at running back.
Oh, Dillon's just solid, yeah. Ravens and Bears, like the Vikings, all the Ravens are solid this week, including a quiet Bateman and Devonta Freeman, both a little bit better than pedestrian, but they were solid, which was kind of nice to see, even though I hate the Ravens.
I think the Bears' best chance to win this game is kind of like the Dolphins last week, where defensively they pretty much shut down the running game and Lamar Jackson. I think the Bears are going to have to bank on their defense doing something similar. I think the identity of the Bears offense is running the football still, and their offensive line is getting better. And I think Justin Fields is a big part of that running game and the play action game. And I think that for that reason, I would still bank on Montgomery or Herbert, whoever is the starting guy. And Darnell Mooney, if I had to have a receiver and I didn't have anyone else better, Darnell Mooney is the guy there in Chicago now.
And, Herbert is a great handcuff for Montgomery. Montgomery was back last week, had most of the carries. Herbert didn't do as much as he had done a couple of weeks before. So it's one of those situations, if you've got Montgomery, Herbert's a good pickup for you just to sit on for that handcuff situation. Checking the Cardinals and Seahawks. To me, I'm going to say it right out. Russell Wilson is highly overrated. He holds on to the ball too long. He rarely throws to Metcalf even when he's open. He's just frustrating to watch. I've been watching him for 2 years deep now because I have Metcalf on my fantasy team. And it's not just because I have him on my fantasy team that I'm seeing him and I'm making this case for him. But, I keep looking at Russell Wilson, and it seems like he just hangs onto the ball, decides to run around, do the scrambling like the old Russell Wilson, but it's not working anymore. So he's on the bench for me, and his play has affected the receivers. In the Sunday night game, both Metcalf and Lockett were not even targeted until the last 2 minutes of the first half. So I'm off Wilson and even Metcalf against the Cardinals. I got to be off of them if they're going to play together again.
Well, I'll pick up the Cardinals and say that I'm only banking on the Cardinals, the offensive players, if Murray's playing. He's a huge part of he is their offense, and everything runs through him, meaning their running and passing game. And he's a big part of both himself. And I think that if he's still hobbled with that ankle and not playing, even if he is playing, I'm not so sure he's ready just yet, which is going to if he's not, that's going to negatively affect their running game, their passing game, which is predicated on play action as well. And I just think that means that A.J. Green, Ertz, James Conner are all guys that I would wait a little bit long. I would wait as long as I could to see how healthy he is before I start him or anybody else.
Cowboys and Chiefs. Cowboys laid a hurt on Atlanta. No reason not to believe they will play up to facing the Chiefs. So everyone is good, even Pollard, and he had a good game as well, mainly because they were so far ahead. Zeke didn't play the latter part of the game, and so Pollard got his touches. And just watch the injury wires for CeeDee Lamb. There are some question marks there.
Could be the game of the week, but as we all know, who knows with this NFL season. So the Chiefs and Mahomes especially just proved to himself, hopefully, that, being a distributor, working your way through progressions, hitting checkdowns, screen passes means a lot and keeps the chains moving. And voila, there goes 400 yards passing and 4 or 5 touchdown passes like last week. If that's the kind of Mahomes we're going to see from here on out, I'd bank on all the Chiefs players as well. I think Kelsey, Williams, Hill again, if they just do normal stuff, they're going to be good fantasy performers.
Sunday night game, Steelers and Chargers. If Ben plays, and I think he probably will, just have to wait later in the week. He gets a couple of COVID tests. If he finally gets something negative, he'll play. And Steelers will be up for the challenge. And I do like Najee here. I like Deontay Johnson. I like Freiermuth as well as the defense this week. Now, TJ Watt got hurt last week, but the MRI came back negative. He's still bruised a little bit, so he may or may not play. So you want to watch that. He was injured in that game. So if Ben remains out due to COVID, Rudolph starts, I'd dial down Freiermuth, he's been doing so well because he's one of Ben's favorite targets. And I'm not so sure that Mason Rudolph targets him in his mind as much as Ben would.
I love how Freiermuth, he's a rookie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've already adopted him there at Heinz Field. So every time he touches the ball, or even Ben thinks about throwing him the ball, it's this move, which I got a feeling going to Charger games this year, there's more other fans there. Like the Chargers have 17 away games this year when you think about it. So I got a feeling we're going to hear some moves there this Sunday, Sunday night, and we'll see. But I think the Chargers are special. They've just got to prove it, I think, to themselves and get back on track in this week. And hopefully this is a game I think they should win. And I think for the NFL world to believe in the Chargers, this is a game they do have to win, with or without Roethlisberger. So I think, what's that?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and with or without TJ Watt. I think Herbert is that kind of quarterback. It doesn't matter who's in the game defensively. He's got to have a special day. Well, a solid day for him is 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, maybe 35, 40 yards rushing, maybe a touchdown rushing. And I think Keenan Allen has really settled into being the go-to receiver guy now. And I think Mike Williams, though ddropped an easy touchdown pass last week, I think he's still a guy that's ready to break out. And I think that Austin Eckler is also a guy that's worthy of playing.
I'm just hoping the Steelers enjoy the better weather out here rather than the weather they're going to get in Pittsburgh. Monday night, you got the Giants and Bucks. I got to say the Bucks will be out for a solid rebound on the showcase game, and I do expect Brady to rebound in a big way. Look for 4, maybe 5 touchdowns, as well as Godwin, and keep an eye on the injuries to Antonio Brown and Gronk because they're kind of iffy at this point. But Bruce Arians really took him to task, and he blamed Brady for a lot of it. And they're just not playing with their heads in the game, I guess is the best way to put it. And we'll have to see. I mean, the Giants are not, one of your top tier teams, and coming off a loss like they had, I got to think the Buccaneers are going to be out for blood and just blow them away.
We'll see. The thing that's been solid through the first 80% of the season so far has been the Bucs defense. Mm-hmm. But they literally got exposed these last couple games. And so the Giants, who started out 0-6 and looked like they might not win a game, all of a sudden the last 2 out of 3 they've won and looked good even in the one they lost. And the guy that's really looked good for them hasn't been Daniel Jones. It's been Devontae Booker. Mm-hmm. And I think whether it's rushing, receiving, he's the guy. If there is a guy on the Giants team that even against the Buccaneers is worthy of a start, it'd be Devontae Booker.
There you have it. Kramer and Brill, Fantasy Football Podcast, and now videocast too. You can hear the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, Odyssey, wherever you get your shows. And now you can also see the videocast on YouTube by going to my Bob Brill YouTube channel, or by finding the links for all of this at kramerandbrill.com. That's the easiest way. Just go to our website, kramerandbrill.com. And both those videocast and the podcast, you can just click on the homepage and never have to leave it. For my friend Erik Kramer, we'll see you next time.